Hi everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we will be completing in today's video. If you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that is something you are interested in, go ahead and subscribe. Otherwise, before we get started, the only thing that you will need to do is download the color palette and the special plaid brush for our background. Those are both linked in the description below. They're totally free to download. For the color palette, just double tap on the file that downloads and it'll automatically pop into Procreate so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the video today. To import the brush, you will need to go to your brush library, find a folder that you want to put it in on the side here, maybe a custom folder, that's where I keep mine, and then go ahead and click the plus icon and then click import and it'll open up your files so that you can find wherever you saved it to import it there so that you can use it later. I will also post the canvas dimensions, color profile, and layers needed on the screen so that you can use those to get your canvas set up. So take a minute to get everything ready and then come back and we'll get started. Okay, here is our color palette that we will be using today. Lots and lots of colors, a lot more than we usually use, but we have lots of different highlights and shadows and different things. So we are just going to go ahead and get started. We are going to leave our background a bright white color, but if you need to set it to white, you can open up your layer menu, click on this background color layer, and the white is the first color on the first row of our color palette if you need to set it. Otherwise, we are going to be on layer 1, and we are first going to do our plaid background to get that out of the way. So that is going to be our second color on the top row of our color palette. Then go ahead and find the plaid brush that you should have downloaded. Set it to 100% and just go ahead and drag it all over your canvas without picking your brush up to fill the whole thing with this pattern in one nice layer, like so. So that is it for our background, and we're just going to jump straight ahead into creating our coffee mug. So let's go ahead and add a new layer on our layer menu. Grab the first color on the second row. Grab our Monoline Brush under the calligraphy tab. I will have that set to 100%. And the first thing that we're going to do is create this outer orange rim, the top rim of our mug. So we are going to make a nice oval shape here. Hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. Yours might snap to a circle like mine did. We don't want that. So we are going to redraw the oval maybe like a little bit like flatter, like so. There we go. Now we'll touch our finger to the screen and that just helps snap it to like a horizontal angle like you can see. That's what we're going for. This is way too skinny though, so I am going to click Edit Shape and just drag this in a little bit, trying to keep it nice and horizontal. Drag this out, again, trying to keep it nice and horizontal. And just kind of place it somewhere in the middle area here. And then we're going to make it a little bit thicker, so we are just going to go to our layer menu, make a duplicate of this oval layer. Click the arrow tool, set it to freeform so that we can just kind of go in all the way around. We're just going to move our shape inside a little bit so that we get a nice like thicker rim here, like so. So that's probably good. We'll go to our layer menu now and snap these two layers together so they're all on one layer. So we just have our one orange rim layer. If you need to make it a little bit bigger, which I think I do, I am going to go ahead and just do that now. Even on freeform, I'll just kind of work my way up to get a nice shape. So I think I'll go with something about like this for the rim of my mug. So make sure you like how yours is looking, and then we will move on. So the first thing that we're going to do is add some shadows and highlights to our rim. So let's go to our layer menu on this layer, click it and set it to alpha lock. Grab the second color on the second row, this darker orange color, and we're going to switch our brush to the soft blend brush under the airbrushing category. And we are going to have that set to maybe 10%. And we're just going to add this in some sections on our mug. So I might do like this lower right kind of corner, maybe the back like middle area. This brush is really soft, so go over it a good few times to get it pretty dark in the center, but then it'll kind of fade out into the lighter orange that we started with. And then maybe I'll do this lower left corner too a little bit. So all in all, I did like maybe 3 sections of this darker color, like so. Then we will grab the third color on the second row, this lighter orange, and we are going to switch our brush to this medium airbrush. Set that to about 10% and zoom in here, and we are going to just create some little highlights with this brush, kind of following the curve of our rim of our mug. So again, just in certain areas, we'll just add a few kind of around. You can kind of make them fade on the ends a little bit. If the brush size is too big or too small for your rim, go ahead and just change it accordingly. Otherwise, again, I'll add maybe just 3 like that, and then I will switch to the fourth color on the second row now, even lighter, same brush, but we are going to lower the size to maybe 5%, and we will just add some brighter highlights with this color. Again, following the shape of the rim anywhere that we add them. Maybe some smaller ones, but maybe we'll do like more of them. So maybe something kind of like this. And then that will be it for the rim part of our coffee mug. So now we are going to go ahead and move on. We are going to make the actual coffee part now, the brown coffee part. So we'll go to our layer menu, make a duplicate of this oval layer that we have, select the bottom one. It is already set to alpha lock. That is good. We are going to grab the 5th color on the second row. So the one right after the last color we used here, this really light color. So we're going to select this 5th one, the brown one. Go back to our layer menu on this bottom one that we have selected. Click on it and click fill layer. So you'll see your oval turn brown. Then we're going to click on it, turn off alpha lock, and then drag and drop our brown color in the middle. Like so. Click the arrow tool, have it still on freeform, and I am going to first bring the top down, bring each side in, but leave the bottom alone. So the bottom is still just touching here. I might bring it up just a smidge to make sure it's not sticking out, but about like this so that we can see a little gap in between our coffee and the rim of our mug. With mine, you can see there's a little ghosty line here where I filled it in. So I'm going to go through and just fill that in with my brush. Okay, so now that that is all set up, now I will add a new layer above this. Click on it and set it to a clipping mask. And this means that we will only draw over this shape here that it clipped to, our coffee shape. But we are going to add some texture and stuff, some like foamy, bubbly looking stuff. So we are going to add that on this clipping mask layer here. So let's grab the 7th color on the second row. So we just use this darker brown. So not this light brown next to it, but this even lighter, like grayish brown color. Grab that one. Switch our brush to this medium blend brush here under our airbrushing category still. Set the size to about 10%, and we're just going to focus on this bottom right corner here. Kind of start outside of it and make like a little wavy line. Go over it a couple times to fill it in nice and good, and then fill in the bottom right corner here. So you'll get something kind of like this. Go to our color palette and select this next color in line, the 8th one on the second row. And we are going to start inside this a little bit to the right. So leave an edge of this really light color, but then go inside and kind of follow the same shape with this like lighter color, very lightly to kind of blend it nicely with our first color, like so. But get it all the way to the right side. And then let's actually switch and grab this 6th color on the second row now, this kind of lighter brown, lighter than our coffee, but darker than the colors we've been using. And we will use that just in the bottom right corner, kind of blend that through like so to make it a little bit darker there. With this same color and same brush selected, we are going to go back to our coffee layer here, this dark brown oval. Go back to that main layer, click on it, set it to alpha lock. Now that we have our foam laid out already, we are going to kind of follow the edge of that with this kind of medium brown color on top of our coffee color. So we're just going to kind of go around it, underneath it, like so, to kind of create a little edge there. And then maybe just add a little bit throughout the rest of our coffee as well, just to add a little bit of highlight. But don't fill the whole thing in, just kind of add a little bit there to give it some dimension, like so. So now it should look like this, and now we are going to go back to our clipping mask layer here, add another layer above it, click on it and set it to a clipping mask also, and this will be the layer that we add our bubbles on. We will start with the color that we're already on, the 6th one on the second row, switch our brush to the medium airbrush again, the smaller one, set the size to maybe 20%, and we are just going to go through and make some little circles with this color all the way throughout, like so. These are kind of our bigger circles. Let's grab our original coffee color now, this 5th one on the second row, and make some bubbles with that as well, some big bubbles. And then we are going to go back in and just lower our size to maybe 10% and make some small bubbles as well. So same color as before, this darker brown. And just kind of all the way around, adding some of those. And then we will also switch back to our lighter brown, the 6th one on the second row again, and add some with that color as well, just to kind of give it some difference in here. You can add them right all the way up to the edge of this like foam layer, but nothing past that. So maybe about like this. And then finally, we will go in with this 2nd color on the top row, this kind of creamy color, and we're going to drop our size to even 5, and we are just going to add a tiny little dot to the top left side of each of our bubbles here, each of the very big ones, so not our little tiny ones, just these bigger ones, like so. And that completes the coffee layer with our foam and our bubbles. And now we're going to add the rest of our mug. So to do so, we are going to use another duplicate of this kind of oval shape. So we will go to our layer menu, find our coffee layer, this dark brown oval that we used. Make a duplicate of that. Select the bottom one, so it should be right above our pattern background layer here. And it should already be set to alpha lock, but double check that it is. Grab the first color on the last row of our color palette now. And go back to our layer menu, and on this layer here, click on it and click fill layer. So you should see a cream colored oval now there. Click the arrow tool, again with freeform turned on, and we are just going to drag the top part up to meet the edge of our orange circle. Drag the right over to meet the side of it, and drag the left over to meet the side of it. We don't want to go all the way to the edge because we do want this to kind of overhang on the right and left side here to make the orange lip bigger than the rest of our mug. But drag it far enough that we don't see any gap all the way around. So it should be about like this. And then we're going to go to our layer menu, make a duplicate of this cream oval layer, Either one of them doesn't matter. Click the arrow tool, zoom out, and we are going to go to the bottom left here and make sure that snapping and magnetics are turned on. And we are just going to drag it all the way down, keeping it in line with our first cream colored oval that we have underneath our coffee layer. Make a good amount of distance between the top and the bottom. This will be the bottom of our mug. So maybe about like that. I have a good few stripes showing in between them, like so. Then I'm going to go to my layer menu and snap these two layers together. Click on the layer and turn off alpha lock. Grab the pen tool, set it to our Monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. And now I am going to connect these sides and start on the very left side of this bottom oval and draw a straight line going up, hold it down, touch my finger to the screen to make it perfectly vertical, and then click edit shape so that I can move it around. So I want to move it over so that it perfectly lines up with this bottom oval. Like I said before, this orange oval will hang over. That's the look that we are going for, so that is fine, but we want it to line up nicely with this bottom one and not be like sticking out and not be too far in where the oval curves back, but right on the edge there, like so. Grab our brush tool again and move over to the other side and do the same thing. So straight line up, hold it down, touch my finger to the screen to make it perfectly vertical. Click edit shape and just adjust it so it lines up nicely there, like so. Then we're going to drag and drop our color in the middle to fill in the rest of this. Zoom in a little and make sure that you don't have any like wispy gaps where we colored in our color. If you do, go ahead and fill that in. Okay, so that is the main body of our mug. We'll move it around later because it's definitely like too far down, but we will just continue on with our shading now. So we are going to go to our layer menu on this layer now, click on it again and turn on alpha lock. Grab the second color on the last row and switch back to our airbrushing category and switch back to our soft blend brush that we were using before. Set the size up to maybe 15%. And we're just going to start on this top area where our lip is showing inside in between our coffee and our orange shape. So this is all one big shape, this cream color. So I'm going to add just a little bit of this darker color to the right and left side of the part that's showing inside my mug, like so. And then we'll move on to the outside, so this main part here. Start on the top, kind of right area here just a little bit, and then go in and down and to the left, like so, to kind of make a line like that. Then we're going to go straight up and down for a little bit. And then we're going to go down and to the right on the bottom like this. So we're kind of making like a little cutout that kind of mirrors the shape of our mug a little bit. And then fill in the entire left side with this darker color. Fill it in nicely, kind of blend everything nicely like so. Then we're going to grab the next color in line, this third one on this last row, the darker one, and do kind of the same thing, just in a little bit further to the left. So start in like maybe the middle to make our first like down into the left line, then our up and down line, and then our down into the right line to just kind of make a shadow on this mostly left side here, like so. You will be able to see like where the shadows change, but that's okay, that looks good. And then lastly, we're going to add a nice highlight to this mug. So we are going to grab this brightest color here on the last row. It is the 6th in line. And we are going to switch back to our medium airbrush, this thin one here, at about 10%. And we are going to just kind of make some lines on the right side here that mirror the shape of our mug again. So on the bottom here, I'll kind of make a curved one, just to add some highlights to the right side there. Okay, and lastly, we are going to add some speckles like paint splatter to the main part of our mug. So to do that, we're going to go to our layer menu, add a new layer on top of our main mug layer, click on it, set it to a clipping mask, grab our dark orange, the second one on the second row, And we are going to find the Flicks brush under the spray painting category. We're going to set the size to maybe 40%, and I'm just going to tap in a few areas to add some little chunks of this splatter all over it. The splatter brush kind of like chooses where it wants to go, so if you need to undo and redo any of it, that's fine. I'll add a few even up at the top here, like so. Okay. However, it is way too much splattering down here, and that's just because that's how the brush does it. I could have made you a custom brush, but I like to kind of show how you can use the standard brushes and still use them how you would like to. So I did a little bit too much splatter down here just because the brush does that. But now we'll grab our eraser tool, set it to the Monoline Brush at 100%, and I'm just going to go through and erase some little chunks here and there. So I'm not erasing all of it, but I'm just kind of picking and choosing certain splotches to erase, leaving some big ones, some small ones. So I'm erasing some big ones and some small ones all the way around. Don't have to be too precise with it. I'm leaving some kind of clusters. I'm getting rid of some clusters. I'm not making them like evenly spaced or anything. Just kind of picking and choosing at random. Just kind of until I get to a point where I like it better. So maybe something more like this. I think that looks a little bit better. We can go up to the top even and do kind of the same thing. It's not as bad up here since there's so much less going on, but maybe just get rid of a little bit of it. So something like this. So now this is our main part of our mug. We'll add the pumpkin in a bit, but we are going to first add the handle since that uses a lot of the same colors and techniques. So to add the handle, we are going to add a new layer right above this. Just a normal layer. Grab the fourth color on the last row. Grab our Monoline brush again under the calligraphy tab at 100%. And we are going to first just make the front of our handle and kind of the shape of it. So I'm going to start in this top left kind of corner of the mug underneath my main orange lip here. Draw kind of a curved line going out and kind of horizontally. Hold down until Procreate turns it into a perfectly smooth line. Starting at that point, draw a somewhat curved line vertically going down like so, not all the way to the bottom of the mug, leaving a good amount of space there for the bottom of our handle to connect right about here, leaving some room underneath. So go ahead and click Edit Shape if you need to adjust this and make sure it meets up nicely with our top edge as well, and make any other adjustments. And then grab our brush again, starting at this point, make another curved line kind of horizontally going back in, meeting at about the same spot as our top one did. So again, Edit Shape if you need to adjust it at all. So that is like the main shape of our handle. So we are going to then go to our layer menu, make a duplicate of this layer, select the one on the bottom, click on it and set it to alpha lock. Grab the first color on the first row, this lighter color that we used for our main mug, and go back to our layer menu, and then on this one with the alpha lock turned on the bottom, click on it and click fill layer so it'll turn a little bit lighter. Click on it again and turn off alpha lock. And now we're going to click the arrow tool and we are going to move it up and to the left. So you'll see this other one behind it now. So move it up and to the left so that it's just a little bit higher and a little bit further to the left. Not really going off of our mug. If yours does go off, we might just need to move the whole handle in or just kind of adjust it as necessary, but we just kind of want it like pretty much touching the edge here, like so. Then we're going to click our brush tool again and same monoline brush at 100% with this lighter color now. And I'm first going to draw a line from this one to this one, holding that down. And as you can see, it's below this other layer, so it just goes right through it. Do the same thing to this bottom section, straight line, hold it down. And then we are just going to kind of fill in the rest of this with this color to make a big, nice shape for our handle to work with. So just everything that's behind and leading up to this other line that we drew. So just fill all this in. Same thing on the bottom here, fill all of this in till it touches our other line. And then on this bottom left here where there's this gap, we're just going to just kind of draw a quick line to kind of connect it, just a curved line like so. Okay, so my only adjustments that I would want to make maybe is like this line gets thinner at the bottom here. I might just remake this line, hold it down again, this curved line, and just to kind of make it thicker at the bottom like so. And then again, connect it nicely with our original line. Maybe just something like that. So make some adjustments if you need to. And then the only other thing that I would say is that the whole thing is up a little far and it's kind of a little small. So I want to move both my lighter color and my darker color. So I'm going to go to my layer menu. I already have this lighter one selected. Slide right on the other one, this darker one above it. And then, so they're both selected, and then click the arrow tool, and I'm just going to move it down. I'm going to set it to freeform, and I'm just going to maybe stretch it out a little bit. And like I said, this is where you can kind of move your whole thing in a little bit if you need to, if your one side went off the left edge at all. So just kind of something like this, but I just kind of wanted to make the whole thing a little bit bigger. And then we are going to do a similar thing with these layers to add some highlights and shadows to them. So let's first start with our darker color, this smaller line in the front. Let's go ahead and find that on our layer menu and click on it and set it to alpha lock. Grab the third color on the last row, and we are going to switch back to our soft blend brush under the airbrushing category at about 10%. And we are just going to focus this dark color maybe just in this top left kind of corner here, like so. Make that just a little bit darker. Then we are going to grab this first color on the last row, this lighter color. Grab the medium airbrush again under the airbrushing category now. Set that to maybe 10%, depending on how thick your line is. You might need to change the size, but we just want to add a few little highlights to this, just kind of in the middle of our line. So I might drop mine down to like 6%. Kind of add something there, like so. And that will be it for this part. So now let's move on to our back, bigger, lighter one. We are going to find that layer on our layer menu, click on it, set it to alpha lock. And again, we used this first color to draw it, so now we'll grab the second color on the last row, switch back to our soft blend brush, same size it was before, and we'll just add some of this to the left side of our handle, mostly, and this underneath part as well, like so. Nothing on this top part, we'll kind of leave that mostly alone. Then we'll grab this third color on the last row, a little bit darker still, and add that down here just on this bottom part as well. And we want this to be really, really dark, so I'm also going to grab this seventh color on the last row, this really kind of dark, not really dark brown, but you know, darker than all the colors that we've been using, and add that just on this very edge here, this right side of this bottom area, like so. Okay, and lastly, we are going to grab this brightest color here, the 6th one on the last row, switch back to our medium airbrush again, and we are going to add some highlights to the sides, kind of following the shape again. And then on this edge here where it kind of turns from vertical to horizontal, I'm going to first kind of follow the edge there in a nice sharp line. And then going off of that, just kind of make like a blob on the top part of the handle, like this, to kind of make like a little blobby shine right there as well. And then maybe a little bit just on the top part also. And lastly, we will go in and add a little bit of splattering as well, and we will do that just on our main handle part, not this front part. So we will add a layer on top of this one below our main front part here, this thinner, darker one. So add a layer right in between them, click on it and set it to a clipping mask to this lighter, thicker back layer. Grab the second color on the second row, the dark orange, and switch back to our Flicks brush under the spray paints category at 40%, and just kind of tap around to make some tiny little splatters on that. If you need to go in with your eraser again like we did before to get rid of any of it, you can. Otherwise, with it being such a small area, you can maybe just try to barely touch the edges of it to just get a few light splatters. But just something like that. I kind of missed this bottom portion, so maybe just like that. And that completes that part. So lastly, for our mug, we are going to add the pumpkin on the front. So let's just go ahead and add this on top of our entire layer menu up here, like so. Add a new layer, grab the first color on the second row, grab our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab at 100%. And the first thing that we're going to do is just draw a nice oval in the center here. Hold it down. If you touch your finger to the screen, it'll probably turn into a circle. We don't want that. So just get it as straight up and down as you can. Click Edit Shape if you need to adjust it at all. And go ahead and fill it in. Again, zoom in and make sure there's no wispy line here. If there is, go ahead and fill it in with your brush. Next, we're going to make another oval on the side here, a little bit smaller. Hold that down, click Edit Shape, and we just kind of want to kind of butt it up here so it's tilted a little bit to the right on the top, you know, a little bit to the left on the bottom like so, but a little bit skinnier, and only maybe 60% or 70% of it is actually showing, so it's not connected like this. It's overlapping quite a bit like this. Go ahead and fill that area in. So then we'll draw another oval on this side, hold it down, click Edit Shape, and just kind of adjust it to be about the same as the one on the right side. So about the same height, bottom and top, and about the same shape and size, tilting to the left this time a little bit, and then go ahead and fill it in as well. So now you have one big pumpkin shape like this. I'm going to click my arrow tool and move it down just a little bit so that we have more room for the stem on top. In order to add the stem, I am going to go to my layer menu, add a new layer, drag it below my pumpkin layer right there, grab the 5th color on the second row, this dark brown, same monoline brush, and I'm just going to make a curved line going out like this, a straight line going over a little bit at an angle downwards like this, and then from there another curved line going back in, and then fill that in. And that is my pumpkin stem. It's a little thick and off center, so I'm going to click the arrow tool, set it to freeform, kind of make it skinnier. I could even use my warp option and kind of adjust it, the whole thing to be a little skinnier, like so. And then go ahead and line it up nicely in the middle top part of your pumpkin. Okay, and then we can go to our layer menu and snap these two layers together so that they're both just on the same layer. This will be our pumpkin layer. So then we're going to click on it and set it to alpha lock, and we are going to add some highlights and shadows to it. So first things first, let's grab this second color on the second row, the darker orange. switch back to our medium airbrush under the airbrushing category, so this thinner one that we're using for like our thinner lines. Set that to maybe 10%. And we are first going to kind of create some little shadow lines right here, kind of framing our first oval to kind of create a shadow where those ovals overlap, like so. We are also going to use this darker color and just follow the edge of our pumpkin, kind of all the way around. Nothing too detailed, you can leave some spots out, but just to kind of create like a little bit of a shadow there to kind of make it look a little more 3D, like it's popping off of our coffee mug. So don't go over where our stem is because that is obviously a different color. We don't want to add anything to that, but just kind of go around the main part of our pumpkin here, like so. Next, let's grab this third color on the second row, this lighter orange, and we are going to switch back to our soft blend brush now, the bigger one, and we are going to set that to about 10%. And I'm just going to lightly focus this in the center of this main middle area, just a little bit like so. Lower the size to maybe 5% and focus on the middle area of each of these side sections, like so. Grab the fourth color on the second row, same brush now at 5%, and I'm going to focus this just in the very center to add a little bit more highlight right there. Nothing on the sides with this color, except that now we are going to switch our brush back to the medium airbrush, the thinner one, again at about 10%. And now I'm going to use this lighter color, the fourth one on the second row that we already have selected, and add some of these smaller highlights to the pumpkin. Again, following kind of the shape that we already have laid out. So just in some areas. Like so. Okay, and then that is it for all the coloring and stuff of our pumpkin, but now we're going to move it a little bit and situate it because our cup is kind of at an angle where we can see this we can see the handle on the left side here, so our cup's tilted just slightly like to the right, so the front of it is actually like kind of more right here. So that's where we want to place our pumpkin. So we're going to grab our arrow tool. First it's on uniform, and I might just downsize my pumpkin just a little bit, about like this. And then I'm going to kind of place it over here where this middle would be. And then I'm going to click Distort. And I am going to grab this right side, this middle button on the right side here, and just slide it up just a little bit. And then we'll also grab this left middle button and move it down just a smidge. So nothing too crazy, but just to change the angle a little bit so that it looks like it's kind of facing the right side of our screen. Okay, so that is the main coffee cup totally completed. So now the only thing that's left is to add our leaf underneath and some shadows. But before we do that, our coffee cup is very off center. I need a lot more room underneath to add the leaf and stuff anyway. So I'm going to go to my layer menu, this pumpkin layer selected, and I'm going to slide right on every single other one of our layers except until I get to this background plaid layer. Leave that one out, but then I'll click my arrow tool and I'm just going to move it up a little bit. Set it to uniform if you need to resize it at all. Mine is a little bit big overall, so I'm just going to resize it just a little bit. And then move it up here on my screen a little bit so I have some more room underneath it. Okay, so next up is drawing our leaf. So that is going to be underneath all of our layers. So right above our plaid layer, I'll add a layer there. I will grab the third color on the top row here. So these are kind of my leaf colors up here now. So this third color on the top row I will use to start. Grab the Monoline Brush under the calligraphy tab at 100%. And I'm just going to start on the left side here, kind of up a little bit, like right where the bottom of my handle is. And I'm just going to start and draw kind of like a stem shape. So just kind of like a straight line, kind of thicken it up a little bit and kind of round the bottom of it that's on the left side here, like so. And then I will slowly start curving out at the bottom. And then I'm going to curve and make kind of like a leaf point here. Bring it back in. Then from here I will kind of make another squiggly leaf point. Again, bring that back in over here. Make another one. And maybe just a little smidge of one sticking out at the top here. Okay, and then I need everything to connect so that I can fill it in. So I am going to go to my layer menu, turn off this main coffee cup layer here like so. Make sure we're still on our leaf layer though. And then just go back in and kind of connect everything together so that we can fill it in. So fill in all of these sections. Zoom in and make sure there's no like wispy lines that you need to fill in. And then we will go back and turn back on our coffee cup layer. Make sure we're still on our leaf layer and just make sure everything looks okay. There's no parts like sticking out that shouldn't be anywhere around. And then if you need to, go ahead and smooth any areas out or change any of your leaf shapes or anything like that. I'm going to leave mine as is and start on the texture and whatnot. So the first thing that I will do is obviously go to my layer menu. On this layer, click on it and turn on Alpha Lock. And I am first going to add some texture with some other colors. So we'll grab this yellowy color, the fourth one on the top row. And we are going to switch our brush to the Splatter brush now under the spray paints category. Set that to 50% and I am just going to add in some areas of this yellowy color like so. It kind of adds some orangey in there also. So just a few sections of that. Then I will go and grab this fifth color on the top row, this lighter red color, and add some of that in as well. Just a little bit here and there, like so. Then I will grab this sixth color on the top row, the dark brown. I will switch to my medium airbrush under the airbrushing category again. One of our favorite brushes today, and we'll set that still at 10%. And the first thing that I'm going to do is go over this entire stem area to turn that entire thing brown up until you meet like the base. If you can see a lot of the base where it switches to kind of our leaf shape, just blend it very lightly from brown to red. Okay, and then now I'm going to go through and I'm going to again just kind of focus on the edge here like we did with our pumpkin and just add this darker color to the edge. For the most part, again, it doesn't have to be anything perfect. You can make some areas kind of like denser and bigger, some areas like thinner and just barely peeking off. But this is just kind of like the natural, you know, color of our leaf. It gets darker on the edges. So something kind of like that. And then lastly, we are going to go through and just add some veins with this color. So I'm just going to start from what is essentially the center of my leaf here, which is under my coffee cup. And for each little leaf area, I'm going to go out with this color in kind of a squiggly line and then add some little lines off of it. Like so. And even this little back one, you can't see much of it, but I'll just add a little bit there too. Okay, and that is it for our leaf. So the very last thing to do is add our shadows for our leaf and our mug, and then we will be done. So for our leaf, I'm going to go to my layer menu, make a duplicate of this leaf layer. The one that's on the bottom should already have alpha lock turned on. If it doesn't, make sure to turn it on. But we are going to grab the last color on the last row. It is 8th in line, and we'll go back in on this one on the bottom, click on it and click fill layer to fill it in with this brownish grayish color. Click on the N on this layer and drag it up to multiply for our layer style. Click on the layer again, turn off alpha lock. Okay, now we'll click our arrow tool and we will just move it down and to the left just a little bit so that we can see a little bit of that shadow peeking out all the way around on the bottom and left side, like so. And then we will click the wand icon and click Gaussian blur, and we will drag our pencil across the screen till we get to maybe 3 to 5%, somewhere in there, to just kind of blur the shadow a little bit. Okay, and then for our mug shadow, we're going to do a similar thing, and we are going to grab the main mug shape here, this big one, slide to the left and hit duplicate. The one on the bottom should already have alpha lock turned on. If it doesn't, go ahead and turn it on. Same color, this 8th one on the last row that we used before, and go ahead and click on it and click fill layer so it fills in with that darker color. Then we're going to click the N on this layer again, drag it up to multiply again, click on it again and turn off alpha lock just like we did before. Same thing, arrow tool, drag it down and to the left a little bit. However, this time we are going to click on distort, and we are going to drag this top left bar in a little bit so that the shadow just kind of barely starts sticking out towards the bottom of the mug here, like so. We don't want a whole shadow on the left side there, so just a little bit maybe towards the bottom. And then we can even grab this lower left handle and drag it out a little bit, so it's a little bit deeper on this left side. Again, drag this top left one back in. We just don't really want to see that much at all. So something kind of like this. Okay, and then again, click the wand icon, click Gaussian blur, and again, drag this up to just like 3 to 5%, something very minimal, but to just give a little bit of fuzziness to the edges of our shadow there. So that is the last step of our drawing. It was a bit of a longer one today, but I hope you had fun. If you did, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more tutorials from me in the future. If you would like to share your drawing on Instagram, I would love to see it, so go ahead and post it and then tag me so that I can check it out. While you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so that you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching!